you guys for joining today. I don't know who was on maybe last time when Diane Miller presented, but this will be kind of similar. But basically, I am a meteorologist, and like Julie, except a few fewer degrees than her. And I want to talk today a little bit kind of how my career has evolved as a meteorologist over the years in ways that I never would have imagined. I'll just say up front that I thought originally when I was a kid that I wanted to be on TV for meteorology, as I think a lot of people do. So I grew up on the coast of North Carolina, and like a lot of meteorologists, I think the one thing that they all point to is some big event weather-wise when they were kids that kind of got them interested in the weather. So for me anyway, it was Hurricane Hugo, which was, I can't believe it, but all the way back in 1989. I was living on the coast of North Carolina there in New Bern, which I don't know if I can move the mouse here, but it's kind of just north there of the eye of that storm in the image. And so I was, let's see, 10 years old, and for some reason I was scared to death of, there's a pointer, okay. I was scared to death of this storm, and I thought it was just going to be the end of me. So I think that fear kind of motivated me to get more interested in meteorology. And then living on the coast there, several more storms came through as I grew up. Hurricanes Bertha and Fran when I got a little bit older. Also did a lot of damage in certain areas and affected some of my family. So, I kind of wanted to understand this weather thing. So between those events and my dad's constant watching of the Weather Channel every morning, I was exposed to a lot of weather and kind of got interested in it. Let's see if I can go to the next slide using the arrow here. So when it came time for deciding what I wanted to do in college, I actually went to North Carolina State University, and I went there thinking that I wanted to be an engineer. And I think that was mostly because I thought engineers made a lot of money. And I quickly realized that maybe engineering wasn't for me. And my dad, again, was kind of an influence here where he kept kind of suggesting that I go after what I was truly interested in, not really make it about the money, those kinds of things. So, So anyway, after the good news about meteorology, maybe the good and bad news is a lot of the core courses for meteorology in college are also similar to engineering. So I wasn't too far behind when I decided to switch over to meteorology, which was good, but I actually was surprised at how much math and science was involved in meteorology. I thought science, but I guess I was a little surprised at how much math. Because math wasn't necessarily my favorite subject in high school. I was probably more on the side of liking English and history and more of the humanities kinds of things. But nevertheless, kind of stuck it out in the math courses and did what I needed to do to get through, and ended up finishing my degree in 2001 with a BS in meteorology. And just some interesting experiences that I had. Again, I thought I wanted to be on TV for weather, so I was kind of pursuing things like that. I was a weather anchor on a news, like a student-run news program called Carolina Week at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. And I did some on-air DJing for a campus radio station, and also interned at the local TV station there in Raleigh for WRAL. For anyone who's been in the area, they're kind of the main station there. And Greg Fischel's been around for years. He was kind of an influence as well. So that was kind of my college experience. So anyway, all these things led up to me thinking, all right, I'm on track to be on TV. And then I kind of realized being on TV is a little harder than it looks. This is an image of me at the student-run news show, and I think maybe the picture tells 1,000 words here. I wasn't the best on air. To get on TV, to get a TV job, you have to put together this resume tape, like an audition tape, and send it out. And I think you can tell from that picture, a lot of feedback I got was, well, you look like you're 12 years old, even though I'm 21 in that picture. So needless to say, I sent out a lot of tapes to TV stations across the country, and I got one offer in Kirksville, Missouri, which is maybe one of the smallest media markets in the country, if not the smallest. And the salary was $16,000 a year. So that's not uncommon for people who really truly want to be in TV meteorology. Um, it's just that I don't think I wanted to be in TV enough, and the salary was tough for me to think I could live on. Even though in Kirksville I could maybe get by on 16,000 a year back in '01, but anyway, I decided to decline that offer and actually started down a career path that I'm on now that I never expected, which is in the air quality field. So another opportunity that I had when I graduated was to go work for Trinity Consultants, which is what I did starting in 2001. A lot of that was actually motivated, some by interest, but a lot by money. I needed a little bit of cash coming out of college, and I thought this would be a good way to get started. And it allowed me to stay local in the Raleigh, North Carolina area. So I started working on air dispersion modeling and doing a lot with meteorological data. And I have to admit, I wasn't too happy with that job at first. So after a couple of years, I started looking into some other avenues, and I found a position as a meteorologist at the North Carolina Division of Air Quality, which is also in Raleigh. And that allowed me to get into more air quality forecasting, which is kind of more what I thought a meteorologist did. And even though it's not totally what meteorologists do, it was getting more towards weather forecasting, which is an interest of mine. So I was able to do that for maybe 16 months, and then an opportunity came up in 2004 for me to join the EPA through their EPA intern program. And I got to go there and work on a national program that delivers the air quality index daily. So the air quality index is the stuff you hear about sometimes where you'll hear about a code red air quality alert, things like that. So the EPA kind of organizes that nationally, and I got to work on that. And then most recently, in 2011, I kind of motivated by personal things going on. My wife got a job in Boulder, Colorado, and I was able to transfer out to the EPA regional office here in Denver. So that's where I am today. I guess going along that career path, one of the things that I realized was that the hardcore math and science wasn't necessarily my number one interest. I had kind of bigger picture interests, and that, in addition to what I was doing in my career, kind of led me to pursue this master's in public administration. And it was interesting because it allowed me to kind of go into public policy and government management, and two things that I'm interested in for sure. And I think it's helped me with my new position as well. So I did that finished that in 2009, and also got a graduate certificate in GIS at the time. So that comes in handy as well. So now here I am out in the EPA regional office, and it's kind of a different world than what I was used to back in North Carolina. But in the EPA regional office, we're really responsible for kind of the day-to-day implementation of the EPA's rules and regulations. So for me, being in air quality, I do a lot with trying to make sure that people are adhering or make sure they're doing what they're supposed to do according to the Clean Air Act. But that's just one thing this office does. There's lots of other stuff too. We're doing climate change impacts, environmental justice, and a lot of this is done in partnership with our states. So if you see that image there on the right, the map, those are the states that Region 8 is responsible for and that we work most closely with. But what's kind of neat about being in a regional office is that you get to really focus on some local and regional issues, whereas when you're back in a national office, you don't get to deal with those quite as much. So it's been a good experience for me. So that's kind of what the office as a whole. I know it's a very broad brush, but what I do specifically nowadays, and sometimes I get to do some meteorology work, sometimes I don't, but really a lot of our work is working with states and tribes to find solutions to complex air quality problems, because we have several out here in the Intermountain West, believe it or not. And so I think my education, kind of, the combination of a technical meteorology degree with more of a policy and administrative master's degree has kind of put me in a good position for what I do day to day, which is really trying to come up with solutions working through the policies and the regulations that EPA gives us. So We have a lot of regulations we have to adhere to, but also there's ways, maybe innovative or non-regulatory solutions that we can try and work towards. So I guess a lot of that is to say, one example of what we do is, if an area like Denver, which is the map on the right there, that's the Denver metro area, and it's also considered in violation of an air quality standard. So we work with the state and local agencies to try to bring down the emissions in this area and get back to cleaner air. So there's a lot of details that go into that, but just suffice to say, it does require some complex policy solutions. But at the same time, a lot of those solutions are driven by technical information. So it is useful to have a technical background, whether it's in meteorology or engineering, because a lot of the questions that come up all relate back to the kind of the science of the problem. So again, we use lots of different tools, whether it's GIS or air quality modeling, to try and figure out how do we clean up the air in these cities in the West. Let's see, so I guess that's pretty much it. Just want to say that I do have a few other interests. I'm still a weather nerd at heart, I guess. And so there's a picture of me measuring the snow, and that's actually back in North Carolina. Here in Denver, I've had to find a bigger tool to measure because that's only like 12 inches, and we get a lot more snow here. So even though my career path has taken me kind of from a pure meteorologist studying the weather into other areas, I like to still get back to the true, chasing storms or measuring snow and rain and things like that. So I just wanted to kind of communicate that alongside all the other things I do. So that's me. And I guess, Julie, if we have time for questions, I can take a few of those.